Okay, so today we're going to go and do for our review a quick lesson that basically uses up everything that we've studied, solving equations and the sign charts. So let's go. So when we are solving for x minus 3x plus 3 is less than or equal to 3, we're going to have to originally take this 3 and bring it over to the left side of the equation. So now we're going to have this x minus 3 over x plus 3 minus 3. I'm going to put it over 1 since it is a fraction, right? Is less than or equal to 0. So I made sure I put a little space here so that I could indicate that I've got to go and take the minus 3, and we're going to have to make it so that the denominators match here. So we're going to have x plus 3 over x plus 3. So if you're really good at this, you can go straight to this line here. X minus 3 minus 3 times x plus 3 all over x plus 3 is less than or equal to 0. So now let's simplify the top half of this equation. So you've got x minus 3 minus 3 minus 3x minus 9 all over x plus 3, which is less than or equal to 0. So now we collect our like terms on top, and we're going to end up with negative 2x plus minus 12 divided by x plus 3 is less than or equal to 0. So now what I can do on the top is I can factor out a negative 2. And factoring out a negative 2 on the top gives us negative 2 times x plus 6 is less than or equal to 0. Now, if I want to make my life easy, I divide the equation by negative 2, and that negative 2 disappears. And when that happens, our sign for our equation becomes 0 greater than or equal to 0. So the inequality changes. So now we end up with x plus 6 over x plus 3 is greater than or equal to 0. And that is what we are going to test. Now, you could have tested this, but I chose to test this. If you stopped here or here and tested, all of those three you could have used to do your chart. I'm doing this because I like to simplify. You can do it your own way. So now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to identify all the zeros and the undefineds for our graph. So here are the zeros. The zeros are, well, it's just x is equal to negative 6. And the undefined values are going to be x is equal to negative 3. So now that I've got that, we can go and set up our x value possibilities. So I'm going to put down here, negative 3 is the largest number. We're going to have a negative 6, and then we're going to take the interval notation and go from negative infinity up to negative 6, and then from negative 6 go to negative 3, and then from 3 go all the way to positive infinity. Now, if you want, you can spread this out even more. So you can spread it out really nicely so that when you have your pluses and minuses, you're not overlapping. You're very sure that you're not overlapping. So on my last equation, I have x plus 6. So I go and find my 0. And once I've got my 0 for 6, x plus 6, all I'm going to do is put a 0. To the right, I check a point between negative 6 and negative 3, say negative 4. Plug it into x plus 6, and we see that it is positive. It's also positive here and positive here. And to the left of it, of our zero, it is negative. As for our x plus 3 denominator, which is right here in our problem, we have, instead of a 0, we have an undefined descriptor. So it is undefined here, okay? So to the right of this, we have positive. We have a negative when we test a point in between -6 and 3, and here and here. So now, at the end, what we want to do is we want to combine those two factors. So now we're going to get x plus 6, I'm going to put it in black this time, x plus 6 over x plus 3. And all I do is I keep track of the number of minus signs in this column. If the number of minus signs in this column is even, then the overall is going to be positive for the first column. And then 0 times anything gives us 0. Whoa, look here. There's only one minus sign. So it's overall going to be negative. This one here, anything and undefined is still undefined. And then plus and plus gives us plus. Now, remember, we were looking for all sets where our value was either 0 or greater than 0, which are these two, the plus signs. So here is our solution based on our final chart. The solution is, so we use the leftmost bracket in our number set. So we got negative infinity. And then we're going all the way out to the column where 6 is by itself, which means that this is an included 6. So that's why we have the square bracket. Union. So we're unioning it with the final chart. So the minuses doesn't work. Over here, we have a plus sign. So here's what we do. We are going to use just the interval for this chart, which is right here. So we're going to use -3 to infinity. And we're done. Now, those are the concepts that we really worked on for this unit. We just finished symmetry, and we also did circles and distances, so you should be able to do that as well. Okay, now, this is your homework. So, the topics on your test will be solving equations, solving inequalities. You've got sign charts, the absolute value. You've got the distance and midpoint. You have symmetry. And these are all some basic concepts. From here, this is what your test is broken down into. There is a fill in the blank. There are 15 questions. Then there is a multiple choice. There are 5 questions, and each question is worth up to 2 marks. You can get 1 if you choose something where I see that you've made an error. So show your work for that calculation. And there are 10 short answer questions. So questions between 2 and 3 marks. And there are 15 long answer questions for which you'll have to put full solutions with equations. Okay? For a total of 50 marks. So your job is to practice, practice, practice. what you see at the end of the textbook, which I'm about to give you, is what you would see on a test, the typical type of questions. I'm not going to deviate much from that. And so now let's move on to what you're doing for your review. So like I said, you've got some questions to do. Now, the odd questions from the textbook that I'm giving you, which is on page 46, you're going to do numbers 1 through 65, and you're going to do the odd numbered ones, okay? For any extra difficulty, you can go and do the even numbered ones. Just check with me from time to time for the solution. I'll also be providing you page 10, and you're going to do question number 54 from page 10. And that was in something that we had done a long time ago. Just a hint, some of the answers in the book might be wrong, so check with me if your numbers don't quite jive. Okay.